Hannah Arendt believed that the greatest danger in the world did not come from declared hatred, explicit violence, or monstrous figures that are easy to identify. For her, the real danger emerged silently, almost invisibly, disguised as normality. It appeared when ordinary people stopped thinking. Not evil individuals driven by cruelty, but seemingly decent citizens, dedicated employees, fathers and mothers, people who follow schedules, respect rules, and carry out tasks without questioning them. This kind of danger is the hardest to notice precisely because it does not look dangerous. When we think about evil, we tend to imagine something extraordinary, something fueled by rage, cruelty, or clear malicious intent. Hannah Arendt dismantled this image in a deeply unsettling way. She showed that evil can be banal. Not banal because it is small or insignificant, but banal because it can spread without reflection, without hatred, and without moral awareness. Evil becomes possible when someone gives up their capacity to think, when a person convinces themselves that they only to come. When phrases like this, "is not my problem, I was just following orders," or "someone else decided this," become internal justifications. This is perhaps the most uncomfortable aspect of Arendt's thought, because it does not allow us to point the finger only outward. It forces us to look inward. Evil does not need evil people. It needs people who have abandoned thinking, people who have silenced their inner dialogue, people who have stopped asking whether what they are doing is right, fair, or human. When this happens, evil stops being something distant and begins to inhabit everyday life. Offices, institutions, and the invisible mechanisms of society. For Hannah Arendt, thinking is not merely having opinions or accumulating information. Thinking is an active exercise, a silent dialogue with oneself. It is the ability to interrupt the automatic flow of action, to create a pause between receiving an order and carrying it out. It is within this pause that conscience is born. When this space disappears, human beings become dangerously efficient. They function, produce, execute, and obey, but they do not judge. And those who do not judge do not take responsibility. Responsibility vanishes along with thought. The danger intensifies when society begins to value obedience more than thinking. When following rules is praised as the highest virtue and questioning is seen as a threat to order. In such an environment, thinking becomes uncomfortable, exhausting, and even risky. It is far easier to accept ready-made answers, repeat dominant narratives, and blindly trust authorities, systems, or majorities. Critical thinking demands effort, solitude, and courage. Obedience, on the other hand, offers comfort and a sense of belonging. Arendt warned that authoritarian systems are not sustained only by force, but by the silent cooperation of people who have given up thinking. The moral collapse of a society does not begin with tanks in the streets, but with the normalization of thoughtlessness. It begins when people stop asking why, when they accept the unacceptable because it comes wrapped in rules, titles, and procedures. When evil presents itself as something administrative, technical, and bureaucratic. One of the most profound aspects of Hannah Arendt's philosophy is the idea that ethics are born from inner dialogue. The central question is not what will others think of me, but can I live with myself after this? Thinking is precisely this act of conversing with oneself, of confronting one's own actions before they become irreversible. When this dialogue is interrupted, anything becomes possible. Not because people suddenly become evil, but because they stop being conscious. What is most disturbing is how relevant this logic remains today. We live in a fast-paced, noisy world saturated with information. We are constantly encouraged to react, to take sides and to express opinions, but rarely to reflect deeply. Thinking requires time, silence, and discomfort three things that are increasingly scarce. Instead of reflection, we are trained to repeat. Instead of questioning, we are pushed towards simple, fast answers. In this environment, critical thinking becomes rare, and obedience disguised as normality spreads easily. Hannah Arendt did not offer comfort or easy solutions. She did not promise that thinking would save us from all forms of evil. What she did offer was responsibility. She reminded us that thinking is a profoundly human act and, at the same time, a solitary one. That not thinking does not make us neutral, but complicit. That the absence of reflection is not an innocent position. According to Arendt, the greatest danger is not excessive passion or fanaticism, but the absence of thought. The most dangerous evil is the one that does not recognize itself as evil. It does not shout, it does not announce itself as a threat, and it does not see itself as cruel. It operates silently, supported by routine, normality, and obedience. It feeds on the belief that someone else always knows better, that questioning is unnecessary, and that thinking is a waste of time. And that is precisely why thinking becomes an act of resistance. If this reflection has made you uncomfortable, that is not a bad sign. Discomfort is often the first sign that thinking is still alive. Hannah Arendt believed that as long as there are people willing to think, to engage in dialogue with themselves, and to take responsibility for their actions, evil will never be completely banal. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you believe that people today think for themselves, or do they simply obey? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this content resonated with you, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thinking is an act of courage, and sharing thought is one too.